Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. My name is Nadian Sands, and this, of course, is Learn How to Edit Stuff, where you generally come to learn how to edit stuff. So today we're going to be taking a look at some rhythmic dynamic typography that I did in After Effects. I just had to do something very similar to this for work. If you guys want to check it out, the link is in the video description below. So watch that video, watch this video. I don't care. Both are dynamic rhythmic typography. And for the first time ever on this channel, I'm not actually gonna do a step-by-step tutorial. Instead, I'm gonna do a breakdown of what you guys just saw to try to provide some useful information to you in the shortest amount of time. Because nobody wants to watch a 30-minute dynamic rhythmic typography video, am I right? Hello? So once you open up Adobe After Effects, actually, you don't actually have to open up After Effects. I have to, okay, why don't I open up Adobe After Effects and jump in? All right, guys, After Effects is open, and this is what my project ended up looking like. Nothing too fancy, nothing insane. It's just a series of text layers that are animated with the beat of the song underneath. Now, one of the most important things to remember with dynamic typography type animations is that the distance between your keyframes has to be really short. The longer they are, the more cheesy the animation looks, the less energy it has. So you're gonna wanna keep your animations to about 3 to 4 frames max for all of these animations. So if we take a look, this animates in, and it's 3 keyframes. Whoop. And then is also animates in, and it just slides over. Now with all of these keyframes, you can see that all of them are easy ease keyframes. And one of the biggest things that you're gonna wanna concentrate on when you're doing something like this is your animation curve between keyframes. So basically, if you have 2 keyframes, you can hit F9 on the keyboard to make them easy ease, or you can right click and go to Keyframe Assistant and turn on easy ease. And then you're gonna wanna highlight the keyframes and come up to the graph editor here. And you're really gonna wanna play with this. Now, a lot of my curves will look something similar to this, or it will be the opposite, where this one will actually be pulled over this way, and then this one will be pulled up. So basically what this is doing is it's starting the animation really fast and then easing into the ending point very slowly, as indicated by these kind of like markers and pulleys here. So if we take a look at any of these animations, you'll see the exact same thing. If I open up this one, this is just the is animation sliding in right here, and it gets there very fast and then eases in very slow. You're definitely gonna wanna play around with the graph editor, and if you guys haven't yet or don't really know what it is, I did another video on the graph editor. I'll put that in the video description below as well, but the graph editor is gonna be your way to make this really dynamic and really fun and really energized and fast feeling with your text by just adjusting some animation curves within your animation itself. So this comes in, and then is kind of slides over, and then on this animation right here, 1, 2, 3, it's only 3 frames as well. I'm pretty sure all of these are actually 3 frames. So basically, is and this kind of shuffle over to the left, and then the is also shuffling over to the left. And if you see, the T in the and the T in this kind of line up when the animation shifts. And basically how I did that was I just pulled this layer over here so I could line them up together. So then that way when this animation goes through, it's very fluid and very seamless. And there's just a couple frame movement in the as well to get you over to the side. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you see that I have X and Y positions separated on all of my animations. I don't think I'm doing any Y animation at all, but when you do add animation to something, I guess I do have to make a layer. This is a step-by-step now. If I were just to animate this animation thing right here, 3 frames, right, and I pull it over this way, this is both X and Y natively when you do this thing. So basically what you're gonna need to do is just right-click on position and then go to separate dimensions, and it will separate it into both X and Y respectively. So in that way you can just grab your X coordinates, you can come over here to the graph editor, and then you can do your graph editor animation. So we can pull this over, pull this up, which means that it will lag a little bit on the first movement and then quickly go into the second movement. See how that kind of works? I don't pay attention. Okay, that was confusing, but you understand what I'm saying. So this is shuffling over to the left to meet the, and then way comes in from right to left very slowly, only 3 frames. And then same thing here, these both shuffle out to 2. So whoop. Not as clean as this first one back here, but it's going so fast that you don't really realize it. So shuffles to the left to 2, animate, and you can see that there's like a jiggle happening here on animate. And guys, this is a very, very easy thing to do in After Effects, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. And it's a built-in preset in After Effects, so you literally don't have to do anything other than drag and drop. Pretty cool, check it out. We come up here to Effects and Presets, Animation Presets, Behaviors, and then we're gonna drop in a wiggle position on this animate text. So I'm just gonna drag and drop it right on there. And to get it to move really, really fast and not all over the place, you come up here to your position, and I'm gonna switch it to 10 times per second and the amount to 10. So now it just basically wiggles in place very, like, you know, jittery. And if you guys were to increase the wiggle amount, it's gonna go like kind of all over the place, but basically I just wanted it to shake like really finely. So you're gonna wanna lower that number down to about 10. So I did 10 and 10, and that's how you get this little animation right there. And again, it's very quick. This is only like 6 or 7 frames total that you see this, but animate is the only thing moving in the frame because animate is it should be animated. It's an animated word. This is what, you gotta think of clever little ideas for these dynamic typography things. I don't know, do what your heart tells you to do, just have fun with it. And then finally, and then it scales up into the O, and then the background becomes white so that text can appear there. And this is a very simple animation as well. I am animating the X and scale position here, so if we highlight all these keyframes and come in, you can kind of see what my curves are doing down here in the bottom right. Scale, for example, is just really taking a long time to get there, and then it's shooting up to the full scale, which is like a lot, right? Like this is starting at 100% scale and it's ending at almost 4,000% scale. So you're basically gonna want to preserve the amount of time it's on screen for as long as possible so that you can read it before it gets really big, and then the other text pops in once the text fully turns the frame white. And then on my X position, I'm doing something very similar where it's staying in the middle for as long as humanly possible, and then it's ramping up to shift over into the O at the very last second. So if I click on these little guys right here, you can kind of see what my curves are doing. Without this, if this was just like a regular curve, something like this, the your would like completely go off screen and then swoop back around and center, which is not what we want. Basically, we want it to stay in the center of the frame almost the entire time before it quickly just kind of goes over into the U. And last but not least, we have text, which is just kind of tracking outward from the center of the text itself. And this is very easy to accomplish as well. You just write any text in here. Haha, very funny, Ian, I know, I'm hilarious. We're going to align it to the center of the composition, and then basically on this guy, you don't have to do anything else other than tool down the little arrow next to your text, go to animate, and then you're going to animate the tracking. And then we're going to set a keyframe for the tracking amount and then go over a few keyframes here. And then we are going to increase the tracking amount, and then you can animate this text here. This is a very clean and simple way to make any text look more dynamic and more cinematic just by kind of separating out the letters. And you can do it as fast or as slow as you want. I don't recommend going that fast. It looks a little whack, but that's how you animate the tracking of text. All right, let's watch it one more time. So all those little intricacies that we see here, like this, the way that this thing collapses over to the left-hand side, you barely notice it when you watch through. And then again, guys, up to you if you want to do it, but I have motion blur turned on for almost all of these layers because the animation is so quick. It's like a little tiny bit of motion blur just to kind of sell it a little bit more with the realism. So all of my motion blur layers are on, and you're also going to want to turn motion blur on in your composition, because if your composition motion blur is not on, you won't see any of the motion blur for your text, so it has to be on for both. Basically, what you want to do for any dynamic typography type animation is you want to keep your keyframes very close together, 3 or 4 frames max, and the graph editor is going to be your best friend. You're going to want to make dynamic curves. You're going to want to play around with it a lot so that it starts feeling really good, and then the creativity will start coming out. And you can start thinking of new ways to kind of incorporate the text, and also the script that you write for the dynamic typography can't be super long. Not a lot of long words. Animation was the longest word I had in mind, and basically all I did was make it jitter, but the longer the word, the harder it's going to be to animate and the harder it's going to be to deal with in your animation. Well, guys, I hope this video helps you out if you're trying to do a rhythmic dynamic typography type animation. Again, if you want to watch the one that I did for work, the link is in the video description below. Go check that out. But that about does it for me. My name is Ian Sands. This is Learn How to Edit Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and also check out the last video that you missed. We do them here weekly at Learn How to Edit Stuff. And if you want to follow me on social media at Ian Sands, hit me up with a tweet, ask me if you want to see a type of tutorial, and I'll do my best to make it happen. Subscribe, check out the last video, and I'll see you next time.